This is Randy.
This is Melanie.
And today we're going to talk about Community, Season 6, Episode 13, Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television. In this episode, the Save Greendale Committee wraps up their final meeting for the year, which basically inspires everyone to ponder about what will happen next year, Season 7.
Potashnik takes off pretty much right away. And after that, they all head down to Britta's bar. I'm not sure when that was established, but it's there.
I think it was just this season that's the bar she works at.
Once they get there, they all start pitching their ideal Season 7s.
Yeah, super meta episode, which is saying something for Community. But it really is, because the majority of the episode is them talking about what a Season 7 would be and what they would want it to be. And, some ridiculous takes on what it could be as well.
Right.
I liked this episode.
Me too. It was one of my favorites of the season.
Yeah, I would agree. I liked it a lot. It had a lot of humor, a lot of good commentary on the show itself. There were a lot of good lines referencing not just like things that had happened in the show, but lines that are meant to be from the creator to the viewer, and possible viewer interpretations of the show, and just stuff like that. Apparently they had Keith David for like a day to shoot. And this was in a recent interview or something with Dan Harmon. They were like, well, I guess we'll just have him leave in the first scene of the episode. And I think that kind of inspired what this episode would actually be. Because then the characters, it's kind of a moment where they're like, he might not be coming back. So then they do reflect on who's coming back, what's going to happen to people. I will say, spoilers. I'll give a spoiler warning because we'll talk a bit about the end of the episode. But this is definitely quite possibly the series finale. And since about season 3, the last episode of every season is potentially a series finale. But this felt like less of a hopeful, you will be back maybe, and more of a, we're probably not coming back. Right. We could, but probably not, is the way I took it.
Or at least a lot of people wouldn't be back if they did come back.
Yeah. They even talk about comparing it to shows that go after so many years. There's a line about shows, those shows don't hemorrhage characters every year. So it is interesting to think about if they came back and lost the characters that it kind of seems like this episode sets up to be gone. Would it still be Community?
I don't know. It depends on your take, because one of the things that I disliked about this episode was Winger and his big emotional dramas that take up half the show that I don't care for.
Half the show in general, or half this episode?
Specifically this episode, but kind of the show too.
That's one thing I found interesting about this episode, and it's something that ties into what you didn't like about it, is I think there was kind of that extra focus on Jeff, because for one, like we talked about, of the original cast, character-wise, he'd be the one that would be left there after everybody else leaves. But also, the very first episode of the series, you follow Jeff into Greendale. Like, you're along with him until the show actually kind of picks up and gets going, and then you're along with everybody.
Right.
But he's your in to Greendale, so this episode made sense to me. Again, take that focus and put it on Jeff, and you're kind of following him out of the show. Not that he's, like, leaving the show, but if the show's done, you're along with him in his emotional ride,
right,
for what would potentially be the last episode. And you didn't like that.
No. I don't like having to deal with other people's insecurities. I have enough problems of my own.
That's a lot of Jeff's... any emotional story with Jeff is all about his insecurities.
Oh, I know.
But that's his character. So I mentioned, spoilers earlier. There are characters that it seems like it sets up to... if it were to come back, they are not going to be back. And I'll go ahead and say them now. So if you haven't turned it off yet, this is your last chance. Then again, why are you listening to this? Go watch the episode. It's on Yahoo screen. Just go watch it now. And then come back. Potashnik, right off the bat, we already said he leaves early in the episode. But it's like, it seems like he's leaving.
He is leaving the state. We just don't know if he's coming back after the summer break.
Yeah, definitely. Probably. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a reoccurring thing in this episode. The next character that it kind of sets up is Annie, who gets a job. No, she gets an internship.
Yeah.
In Washington, D.C., which really seemed out of left field to me. Like I didn't even think she was studying.
It doesn't surprise me. Everything that she seemed to be interested in, like it was some kind of administrative or bureaucratic type job. So the government is perfect for her.
That's true. Good point. And then the other character it sets up to leave is Abed. It would be rough to lose Annie, but Abed seems more in line with like the heart of what the show is.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be hard to have Community without Abed.
Most definitely. Because Potashnik was just there along for the ride. He didn't really have much impact. Annie sometimes does, I suppose specifically with Jeff, but in general, Frankie could fill her shoes pretty easily.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But there's not really anybody like Abed, and I think if they tried to put somebody else in there,
it would feel so forced.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah. Abed's kind of their excuse to get away with the meta stuff.
Right.
He's their easy in to work in episodes like this, where everybody's talking about season 7 because they know Abed's so used to talking about their lives as the show. If that wasn't setting up for if we're going to continue on, these actors probably aren't coming back, then I don't know what it would be. But then again, the characters it leaves behind makes sense that those characters would stay behind at Greendale. They've kind of put Britta in, I don't want to say dead-end job, but your average job. She doesn't seem to have like higher aspirations. And then everybody else is either crazy like Chang or works for the school.
Right.
I just wanted to reiterate, we've mentioned it a couple times during these reviews of this season. Frankie was great. She makes a great comment about herself as a character that I think was perfect.
Yeah, probably my favorite line of the show, or the episode, I should say.
And then, of course, it leaves on the hashtag and a movie. Yahoo, I think, and this is, of course, speculation, I think Yahoo would love to continue the show as a series. They just got the property. Unfortunately, I just don't know how committed anyone that's involved in the show currently would be to continuing it.
Even if it was that core group that stayed there and would stay, it would be okay if they like reworked it,
Yeah, evolved.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this episode. It was a bittersweet episode because there were some funny things, some good meta commentary on the show itself, a few good character moments, but it was obviously heavily dealing with the end of the show itself. So as a Community fan, it's kind of a bummer.
At the end, Dan Harmon does
he does like the voiceover for a commercial.
Like a commercial monologue that I think very much sums up his feelings on the whole thing.
It's the final words of the show is Dan Harmon, and it gets like kind of heavy for a moment. Now, by the time this goes up on YouTube, I'm not sure if there'll be another episode of the Harmontown podcast. I don't know if that'll be up, but as of recording the most recent episode, he even said that his heart was not in this season and that it was pretty much for the fans. I'm very interested to see how this season sits after it's all said and done and with some time between then and now. Well, that was Community. Yeah, now that season 6 is over, let us know how you feel about it. Hit us in the comments on this episode and let us know just in general how you feel about season 6.
We will be back with more, not really reviews, I suppose, our opinions, maybe.
Yeah.
On our favorites.
Based on some comments, which we've got some really nice comments from you guys and gals, but you guys had the idea of like a favorite moments or favorite episodes. Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. Our season 6 community reviews are over, obviously, but we still have a couple other community-related videos. There's still a little bit more community to talk about. I'm excited for a favorite episodes, like countdown or list video.
I love lists.
All 6 seasons.
Woo!
And yeah, so hopefully we'll have that before too long. And then, as always, we'll have some other content, because this also will free us up to work on some other reviews or videos of something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been meaning to get into my anime for a long time.
Yeah, yep. But if you enjoyed this video, click like
and subscribe
for more of what we were just talking about.
Or you could go to grolixpodcast.com to get our full-length podcasts on comic books, Doctor Who, and all kinds of lovely nerdy types.
Lovely nerdy types
of talk.
Once again, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Au revoir.